All right, we're back with Congressman and best-selling author of the new book, Fortitude, Dan Crenshaw. Congressman, I'd love to get your thoughts on how Nancy Pelosi has referred to folks. She just tweeted this: unidentified stormtroopers, unmarked cars, kidnapping protesters, causing severe injuries in response to graffiti. These are not the actions of Democratic Republic rather, at HHS, DHS Gov's. Actions in Portland undermine its mission. Trump and his stormtroopers must be stopped. Now, do you think that's appropriate? Because I know I read in the book, you talk about people should smile, have humor, defuse stuff. But in this case, is that the appropriate response, or should we fight back and say, you know, Speaker Pelosi, this is wrong the way you're describing these folks?
Oh, no. I mean, of course we fight back against untruths. I don't think my book teaches a different lesson than that. Listen, when you have to hurl insults and labels on people, it's a good indication that your intellectual position is rather weak. And in this case, Pelosi is quite literally making things up. Hundreds of officers have been injured by these rioters, these violent mobs, these violent Antifa mobs, which Democrats just can't for the life of them find it in their hearts to condemn them. Federal agents have been blinded by these high-power lasers. IEDs have been created and thrown. Explosions have taken place. Commercial fireworks have been used. These are not the kind of fireworks that you and I can just go buy. So there's something underlying this Antifa movement, and I find it very interesting that Democrats can't condemn it. They really can't. Why? Why is that? Because what's becoming apparent is that the Democratic Party is now the political wing of this movement. So there's a political wing, there's a militant wing, but their messaging coincides rather well. And it's basically this: we'll hold America hostage until you give us power. And Pelosi is saying this. She says this is only really happening because Trump is in power. If we were in power, then it would stop happening. And the protesters, or these violent mobs, and they mix the two, right? Now there's a difference between protesting and this, but what it does very well is they mix the two brands. We see that from reporters on the ground who study this stuff, and they don't have a stated goal in mind. There's nothing stated that could happen that would make them stop, right? So that indicates something. That indicates that this is about power and about getting their political wing into absolute control and power, and it's a scary thing.
I want to switch gears a little bit, Congressman, to the stimulus bill. The Senate GOP unveiled the coronavirus relief plan with 70% wage replacement and unemployment insurance. But it feels like we're miles away from actually coming to a bill. Do you think that, one, we need one? And two, if so, what does that look like?
Yeah, and I'm hesitant to comment on the Senate's version because it as they keep stating, as you just demonstrated, they're apparently miles away from coming to any conclusions. Listen, the unemployment issue has got to be fixed. More generous unemployment benefits, I think, are still okay given the gravity of our situation, but they can't exceed 100% of wages. We already created that problem, and we should learn from it. As people are trying to go, people want to go back to work, but they can't. They're disincentivized to do so, and businesses can't rehire. It's really hurting our economic recovery. Liability protection is important, but we can't give away too much to get it, because there's a lot of bad policy, anti-growth policies that could be lobbed into this that just make us spend more and tax my generation in the future in order to pay for it. And that's not necessarily the right answer either. We've got to also accept the fact that we haven't spent a lot of the money that we've already appropriated on a variety of accounts. So look at that too. So it's got to be pro-growth. It's got to be well targeted and to people who actually need it. And it's got to be based in smart pro-growth economic policies.
Congressman, you're there you represent Texas. There's a lot of talk in the media about how Texas could possibly be in play. Do you buy into that at all?
Yeah, I do. I don't think they turn it, but they're trying to trend it blue. It can be stopped. We've got some great candidates on new candidates, either trying to flip seats or trying to keep seats red. A lot of young women running, minorities running. Wesley Hunt, Tony Gonzalez looks like he's going to come out of that primary. Genevieve Collins, Beth Van Dyne, Troy Nels. There's a lot of great candidates that give us a new face to the party. And I think that's what people are looking for. Texas is still a center-right state. There's a reason that Texas works well. There's a reason that Elon Musk wants to move operations to Texas, because we do things that work. And I think people recognize that. People are fleeing liberal states to come to Texas, and we got to explain to them why it works so well.
Yeah, I think too often people see how well Texas is running, and all these folks in liberal states want to move there, and they're making a Texas more left-leaning. That's the problem. You're too good down there. Congressman, I want to wrap by just saying thank you for your service to this country. Thanks for your sacrifice to this country. We didn't get into it enough because the show's not long enough. But you talk about not having a plan B. You talk about your perseverance in becoming a SEAL and not letting that first time that an injury kept you from graduating in that first class. It's an inspiring book for anybody to read, not just about what's happening in culture, but what it takes to succeed. And there's one thing in there that you talk about, like waking up and staying focused on, don't eat that extra cookie. Go to the gym when you don't want to go. And every morning since I read the book, I thought, oh, what would Dan Crenshaw do right now? So Thank you for such a great book.
That's what the rest of that shame chapter is about. Feel a sense of shame when you do it.
I know. And you shamed me. You hit my Catholic guilt, Congressman. Now I can't get out. I have to get out of bed and go running every morning because of you. And no cookies.
It's hard to that to you.
All right. It's good to have you.
Great book. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, as you have seen, Democrats are still pushing back hard against President Trump's law and order stance. We're going to talk to Florida's former Attorney General Pam Bondi about it when we return.